Here's the thing nobody tells you when you're doom scrolling financial TikTok at midnight. Manifesting a Porsche is not a financial strategy. I spent years broke. Not oat milk instead of regular milk broke. Actually broke. Minimum wage, grocery store, 17 years old, stacking shelves, and completely convinced that if I just put in more hours, things would eventually turn around. They didn't. I was exhausted, broke, and watching the same paycheck vanish every 2 weeks like it had somewhere better to be. What changed everything wasn't some viral hack. It wasn't manifesting. It wasn't waking up at 5 a.m. and cold plunging into a tub of ambition. It was understanding how money actually works and building a real plan around that understanding. By my late 20s, I had multiple income streams, a growing investment portfolio, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't anxious every time I opened my banking app. So in this video, I'm handing you the exact roadmap I wish someone had given me back then. 5 steps, real numbers, no crystals required. The first thing you need, before anything else, is what I call your freedom number. Your freedom number is the total amount you need sitting in investments so that the returns alone cover your entire lifestyle, forever. You never touch the original lump sum, you just live off the income it produces. Like owning an orchard, every year it grows more fruit than you can eat, and as long as you only pick the fruit and never cut down the trees, it feeds you for life. Now, here's the key. This number is different for everyone because everyone's version of a good life looks different. And I know what some of you are thinking. You saw that TikTok creator who claimed they retired at 26 on 300K. That's not retirement, that's a gap year with good lighting. We're building something real here. So let's put actual numbers on your actual life. Go through each part of your lifestyle and write down a yearly cost. Housing first. In 2025, the median U.S. home price hit around $411,000, with mortgage rates sitting stubbornly between 6.5 and 7%. Renting a decent one-bedroom in a mid-sized city runs somewhere between $18,000 and $30,000 a year, depending on where you are. London, New York, Sydney add a painful premium on top of that. By the way, the median age of a first-time home buyer in the U.S. hit a record high of 40 years old in 2025. 40. That's not a typo. So if you're in your mid-20s feeling behind on the property ladder, you're not behind. The ladder just got a lot taller while everyone was distracted. After housing, write down transport. A reliable used car, insured and maintained, might run you $8,000 to $12,000 a year all in. A brand new car on finance sits closer to $15,000 to $20,000. Then food. Cooking most meals at home with occasional eating out comes to roughly $5,000 to $6,500 per year for one person. More if your occasional eating out is actually every other Tuesday. Travel, 2 or 3 trips a year, mix of domestic and international, budget somewhere between $4,000 to $8,000 depending on how you like to move. Then utilities and bills, internet, phone, electricity, and the streaming subscriptions you definitely forgot you had, plan for around $3,500 to $5,000 a year. Health, gym, medical insurance if you're in the US, regular costs at least $3,000 to $5,000. And finally, personal spending. Hobbies, nights out, impulse buys, the random miscellaneous stuff. Be honest here because most people underestimate this wildly. Budget $4,000 to $7,000. Add it all up. Let's say your total lands around $65,000 a year. That's your lifestyle cost. Now take that number and multiply it by 25. $65,000 times 25 gives you $1,625,000. That's your freedom number. Why 25? Because of something called the 4% rule. Research showing that if your money is invested and growing at above 4% annually, you can withdraw 4% per year without ever running the pot dry. Historically, a diversified stock market portfolio has done considerably better than 4% over the long run. Now, $1.6 million might sound like an enormous mountain from where you're standing. Keep going, because the next step is where we start actually climbing it. Step 2 is about finding the money that's already quietly draining out of your life every month and redirecting it towards that number. And before you switch off, I'm not going to tell you to stop buying coffee. That advice peaked in 2019 and we've all moved past it. I want to show you the 3 leaks that actually matter. The first is the car trap. Social media has completely warped how people think about vehicles. Everyone on Instagram appears to be cruising around in a Range Rover. The reality is that most of those people are one missed payment away from a very uncomfortable phone call. In 2025, the average monthly car payment on a new vehicle crossed $700 a month. That's nearly $8,500 a year for something that lost 20% of its value the moment it rolled off the forecourt. It is genuinely one of the most efficient ways ever invented to make yourself poorer. The smarter move is to buy a 3 to 5-year-old version of a reliable car, something like a Honda or Toyota. These have already absorbed the steepest depreciation hit. You pay significantly less, they're still mechanically sound, and you free up hundreds of dollars every single month. The difference between a $700 a month car payment and a paid-off used car is $8,400 a year that could be going into your investment account instead. Compounded over a decade, that gap is worth potentially $140,000 or more. Your car should get you from A to B. It is not a personality. The second leak is subscription creep. Go through your last 3 months of bank statements. Most people find 6 to 10 subscriptions they'd completely forgotten about. Streaming platforms, apps they downloaded once, a gym they attended passionately for 2 weeks in January, cloud storage for photos they will absolutely never look at again. The average person is quietly bleeding $150 to $200 a month on these subscriptions. Cut everything you haven't used in the past 30 days and you've potentially recovered $2,000 a year without changing your life at all. That's basically free money hiding behind a $7.99 direct debit. The third leak is what I call the brand loyalty tax. Supermarkets are extraordinarily good at charging you a premium for the exact same product in prettier packaging. Studies consistently show that store brand and own label products are regularly made in the same factories as the premium versions, just with a different sticker. Switching your regular grocery shop to store brand alternatives can cut your food bill by 20 to 40%. In an economy where inflation pushed everyday prices 10 to 30% higher than their pre-pandemic levels, that kind of swap isn't being cheap, it's being deliberate. There's also something worth borrowing from one of the genuinely useful financial trends that emerged in 2025, called loud budgeting. Instead of making excuses when something isn't in your budget, you just say it plainly. Not, "I'm busy that night," but "That's not in my budget right now. I'm saving for something bigger." It sounds uncomfortable at first, but what actually happens is that people respect it, and saying it out loud reinforces the decision in your own head. It's free therapy and financial discipline rolled into one sentence. Step 3 is one that a huge number of people either skip entirely or get badly wrong, and it can cost them tens of thousands over a lifetime. Your credit score is the number that tells lenders how trustworthy you are with money. And before you say you don't plan on borrowing, almost every meaningful wealth-building move eventually involves some form of credit. A mortgage, a business loan, a property deal. A high credit score means better rates, better terms, and less of your money flowing out in interest payments to someone else's pocket. The system for building it is genuinely simple. Get a credit card, use it for 1 or 2 purchases a month, things you'd buy anyway, like fuel or groceries, pay the full balance before the statement date every single month without exception. That's it. You're not borrowing money, you're using the card as a tool and wiping it clean each cycle. Over time, your score rises, your credit limit increases, and financial doors open that stay firmly shut for people who ignore this completely. The only rule to remember is to stay below 30% of your available limit at any given time. Done consistently, this costs you nothing and quietly builds one of your most valuable financial assets. Step 4 is where the timeline to your freedom number starts to genuinely compress. You need at least one additional income stream. Here's why this became more urgent than ever in 2025. 1 in 4 Americans already had a side hustle, and that number was still climbing, not because it was fashionable, but because a single salary in an economy where inflation stayed above 2.5% and job security thinned out across whole sectors simply doesn't provide the buffer it once did. The ground shifted. The people who noticed adopted. The people who didn't are still waiting for it to shift back. Think about what you already know how to do that someone else would pay for. If you're good at writing, freelance copywriting pays $30 to $100 or more per hour. If you're good with numbers, bookkeeping or financial coaching for small businesses is chronically undersupplied. If you're good with teaching, platforms like Teachable and Udemy have made building and selling online courses accessible to anyone with knowledge and a decent internet connection. If you're good at creating content, the creator economy was worth $250 billion globally in 2025 and is projected to hit $2 trillion by 2035. And YouTube in particular continues to reward the kind of long-form, trust-building content that actually helps people over the quick viral flip. And then there's the option that genuinely changed the landscape in 2025. AI-assisted side hustles. Tools like ChatGPT, Midjourney, and a wave of automation platforms dropped the barrier to entry for content creation, design, digital products, and virtual assistants to nearly zero. People were building faceless YouTube channels, selling AI-generated digital products on Etsy, and doing AI-assisted copywriting for local businesses with no prior experience and almost no startup cost. The tools are there. The question is whether you'll use them. I know the objection. You're too busy. So let's deal with that directly. There are 168 hours in a week. A full-time job takes 40. Sleep takes 56. Meals, commuting, and basic daily life take another 20. You still have over 50 hours of discretionary time every single week. 50 hours! If you genuinely can't find 5 of those to work on building a second income stream, the honest answer isn't that you're too busy, it's that you don't want it badly enough yet. And that's fine, but be honest with yourself about which one it is. The goal at this stage isn't an empire. It's an extra $500 to $1,500 a month that goes directly toward your freedom number. Run the numbers on $1,000 extra a month invested at a 10% annual return over 15 years. That's roughly $380,000 from one side hustle. Invested consistently. The compounding does the heavy lifting. You just have to start. Step 5 is the mindset shift that separates people who actually build wealth from people who spend their whole lives talking about it. You need to stop thinking of money as something you spend and start thinking of it as something you deploy. Here's the contrast that matters. The pattern that keeps most people stuck is simple. Money comes in, lifestyle expands, money goes out. The wealth building pattern looks different. Money comes in, a portion gets deployed into assets, those assets make more money, and only then do you consider any lifestyle upgrades. The order matters enormously. In 2025, there were 2 particularly powerful cultural traps pulling people away from this. The first was the meme stock mindset, the idea that the fastest path to wealth is catching the next viral Reddit stock or the next crypto pump before everyone else does. Some people got lucky in earlier cycles, most didn't, and every single cycle a fresh wave of people convince themselves they've finally cracked it, usually right before the correction arrives and reminds everyone what markets actually do. The second was the manifestation trap. In 2025, money manifestation had over 1.7 million posts on TikTok. Vision boards were everywhere. Astrologically timed investment strategies were incredibly a thing people were discussing seriously. And to be completely clear, none of it put a single dollar into anyone's brokerage account. Your money works through investment, not intention. So where do you actually put it? For most people starting out, it's an S&P 500 index fund. It's a basket of the top 500 US companies, and historically it has returned around 10% per year over the long term. Bad years happen. 2022 was brutal, and markets have always had turbulent stretches. But no one who bought and held an S&P 500 index fund for 20 years or more has ever lost money, based on all historical data going back decades. You can start with as little as $1 on most modern investing apps using fractional shares, and the strategy to use is dollar cost averaging, putting in the same fixed amount at regular intervals regardless of whether the market is up or down. This smooths out your entry price over time and removes the impossible stress of trying to time the market. Nobody consistently times the market, by the way, not even the people on financial television who imply that they do. Real estate remains one of the most powerful long-term wealth builders available, even in a 2025 market with median prices around $411,000 and rates above 6%. The play that still works is house hawking, buying a property with a spare room or an additional unit, living in one part and renting the other to offset or fully cover your mortgage. You build equity, your cost of living drops, and you're using other people's rent payments to fund your own asset accumulation. As your portfolio grows, you can diversify further. Some people allocate a small slice, around 5%, to higher risk assets like cryptocurrency. If you do, only put in what you'd be genuinely comfortable losing entirely. It's not a savings account. Treat it as a high variance bet on an emerging technology and price it accordingly. The underlying principle across all of it is the same. Once your money is invested and compounding, it works for you all the clock, while you're sleeping, while you're on holiday, and yes, while you're watching YouTube videos about personal finance. That's the real engine behind every genuine story of financial freedom. Not luck, not a secret system, not a $997 course that promises to reveal what the banks don't want you to know. Just money working consistently over time. Here's where we've arrived. You find your freedom number first, so you have a real target instead of a vague aspiration. Then you plug the leaks, the car payments, the forgotten subscriptions, the brand loyalty tax, and redirect that money toward the goal. You build your credit score quietly and consistently so that when bigger opportunities arrive, you can access capital on your own terms. You create at least one additional income stream because one salary in the current economy is one leg on a stool, and a stool with one leg isn't furniture, it's a hazard. And then you put your money to work through steady, disciplined, boring investing, the kind that doesn't make a good TikTok but does reliably build wealth. This isn't a shortcut, there isn't one, but it is a proven path, and the earlier you start walking it, the further you get. If you want a full walkthrough on opening your first investment account from scratch, I've got a step-by-step video linked right here. And if this helps, subscribe. New videos every week on building real wealth without the noise. I'll see you in the next one.